Peace. It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be talking about how to find self love or what self love looks like on the spiritual journey. And I was actually gonna tailor make this video for people with like Venus in the 12th. And then I was like, oh, maybe all 12 house. I'm just like everybody on the spiritual journey, right? So everyone will be able to take from this what they want. And this video is a result of a request. Someone sent me an email, and that individual has Venus in the 12th, asking me to make a video about this. And once again, I feel like I got to start the video with this also saying, remember, we're all different. You could have 10 people with Venus in the 12th, and it's similar themes, right? There's general lessons, but the expression in everyone's karma, which is the expression of the action, is different, and we're all going to view that Venus in the 12th differently, but there is sameness within the whole, right? But a whole lot of differences. So everyone's going to come to a realization, just to use Venus in the 12th as an example. Everyone comes to a realization about relationships. And there's within that realization, whatever it may be, is the opportunity for transcendence. So take the 10 people with Venus in the 12th, and that's transcendence of the Venus principle or raising of the Venus principle is the mission, is the theme, the principle, the thing wanting to be learned. How that gets learned is going to be different in everyone's view and experience. That's why we talk about. That's the next part about karma, because everyone's path has been different. They have made different decisions. They've experienced different things, and therefore will experience those things that help them reach the transcendence. So things can be similar, but they'll always be different. So no one's generally going to feel the same way. I felt like I really need to say that about all, like everyone with a position is not the same, right? Now, going back to the idea of like transcendence, just in the sense of that particular position. So people, whatever thing you're struggling with, whatever you're trying to evolve to, always say to yourself, how can I transcend this situation, this attachment? And when you look at those particular energies within the zodiac that kind of represent that, you have Scorpio, you have Pisces, right? You have Aquarius, and Aquarius ruled by Uranus, everything that represents. So there's different ways to liberation. So still using this example of Venus in the 12th, you need to be liberated through Venus principle, through the Venus principle, right? But if your 12th house is in Scorpio, that expression is going to take you through a certain journey, or the journey to the moment of realization or transcendence is going to be colored by that sign. And then also, what else is in your 12th house or your karmic reservoir? Okay, so that's that. So I'm about 4-5 minutes in, and I was also going to tell y'all, just in case if those you want to know, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning right now, just about to be 6. I've been up since about 4:30. I generally start my day around 5. Like, and even right now, I'm very much still in the theta brainwave state, being that I just came out of meditation. So I really enjoy, like, I feel like or I know this state and tapping in creates you're able to channel different things. So for anybody, like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, you've been called to be up at this time, be up and work. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weird, but amazing things can happen when you just have silence and you dive deep. So I wanted to say that as well. So back to the topic at hand. What does self-love look like? Right? Self-love is, and it's crazy because a lot of us really believe our level of self-love is higher than it may be based on the relationship we have with ourselves, our overall Venus principle, and what we value in regards to love and pleasure, and right. So everyone's self-care. So everyone's has a certain level of self-care. That's just a part of the thing. But I liken it to this. And once again, I'm going to preface back to anybody with energy in the 12th house. There's an element connected to of those energies of sacrifice, of letting go. People always ask me, but what does letting go mean? And I always tell them, you in this, you within your psyche know the relationship you have with the attachment, the idea, the whatever it is. Simply changing that perception is letting go. Okay? So part of what self-love looks like for a 12th house person is going to be the letting go of whatever fantasy expectation that there is in regards to that particular thing. So if you have Mars in the 12th and secretly you want to kind of dominate others or have things your own way in certain regards, the moment that you give up on that and decide to play fair, the relationship with the Mars in the 12th changes. Same thing will be said for Venus in the 12th. And I said these in the videos. You know what you want. There are 5 things that you want. Let go of at least 2 of them, possibly 3. And if you can get, but this is value. Remember, Venus and Taurus, value. What do I value? Okay. Then Venus in her other sign, Libra, balance. What balances me out? This is what I value, but this is what actually I need to balance me out. Or this is the dynamic, right? So that is part of what self-love looks like. Or letting go. So self-love is like, I love me enough to not keep going through this crazy cycle of disappointment or unfulfillment. That's 12th house specifically. Other places can create this effect too. And it's just a part of life when you can't learn a lesson. So with 12th house, right? Neptune, 8th house, Pluto, even if you have planets aspecting these, right? Like a Venus or something aspect, there's going to be an element of the ideal attached to that. Pluto, there's going to be an element of the power struggle. So part of self-love and letting go is like, I love me enough to stop putting myself through this crazy shit. Like, I get it. It's not that serious. I'm telling you, and this is a subtle thing. It's subtle. It's not like a major, all right, I'm changing my life. I'm giving it up to Christ, or, this is the day. No, you got to approach these things like very subtly. So in that regard, that's part of a hidden factor of self-love and is letting go and is loving yourself enough to just not put yourself through the torment, right? Or the disillusionment. Then say there's others in the chart. Say we have Venus in Capricorn. Okay, yeah. Let's say we have Venus in someone with Venus in Capricorn anywhere in their chart. And they're born in a time where Neptune was also in Capricorn, or Neptune was in Uranus, or Uranus was in Capricorn. That person has that. Let's go with this example, the fourth house. So with these planets there, a deep idolization. If it's Neptune, it's a deep idolization of the traditional family, the traditional relationship. If it's a woman, she might want to be a housewife, right? Mom may have been a housewife. She's viewing it in some idealistic way. Ultimately, like I said, in her journey, in this person's journey, with means self-love and breaking away from that ideal will be about embracing loneliness. Before understanding that, before I can have that ideal, I need to be without it. So think about it. More time in a position like this, if you have a person who comes from a broken home with this position, early life is tough. There is no ideal. There is no fantasy. They're being put through it. Maybe by 30s, they build themselves from the Capricorn standpoint of career, and then and through their career and status, they create their ideal home situation for themselves, right? Versus looking at it in the next sense of a person who had the conditioning of, both parents being together, and they're like, okay, naturally, I want this, and they're going out in the world like, part of me creating my life and the stability is that I have to have this traditional thing because that's what I saw. That person, your key for the self-love is to do what I just said in example A, is to build and let it come. It's going to come, but you can't approach the ideal. And that's why sometimes we need certain circumstances to limit us. Now, using the same example, if I put Uranus here, now this is someone who, regardless of upbringing, their task is to implement what they believe to be true value in regards to their relationship with themselves. So part of their self-love is about embracing the reality of who they are, or the eccentricness of who they are, now who their family thinks they should be, right? So it goes deep. Self-love is in the dynamics of your chart. It's going to differ based on those configurations. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things are based on our individual charts. So you'll have a person born same day as you, different time, different ascendant, like similarities, but they're going to be differences because they're a completely different person with a different psyche. And that's the next thing. Those of you, if you, within my teaching, like I teach from that standpoint of like, the chart is the pattern, the energetic pattern or configuration that you are granted and given. Now, I guess this is what you call the free will portion of it. That's about developing your psyche. Your psyche is developed with that energy based on how you use it and patterns and conditioning. So all of this leads back to what I'm saying about self-love comes in very different forms. Okay. So then, like I said, I can use another example, and we say, and now let's look at some codependency. Let's look at some codependency. Let's go with Leo moon. Now, I don't want to do natural house. Okay, yeah. Let's do Leo moon in the 10th. Leo moon in the 10th. Great example here. Leo moon in the 10th. Now, this person can definitely be career driven, driven for success, driven to garner or let the world know about their individuality, right? Now let's add an aspect to this. Let's say this 10th house moon is squaring Saturn in the 7th, right? So it's squaring Saturn in the 7th in Taurus, right? So the person wants success, but they lack certain structures or beliefs actually within like the talent within themselves and their individuality. So therefore, they project on to others that need for reassurance or that need for structure. Okay. So these are people who they just get more done. They're more grounded or better when they are in a relationship. Now, if I'm really being honest and how I've seen astrology work, it'll be a situation where it's like a person will get a partner that gives them that structure, or they'll have people in their life that represent the Saturn for them. But at the end of the day, their dependence on that limits their ability to be in the 10th house or to express that Leo will, because there's a certain level that is self motivated, but the person's looking outside of that in the 7th house. So self love for that individual is really about assuming responsibility and devoting full like attention, resources into themselves, or even within relationships, like using their partnerships to help them be like to lead in their partnerships or a system rather than be dependent. So it's like understanding you are the leader rather than the submissive or whatever. Okay, so self love, you develop the self love, becoming actually self absorbed within those 10th house endeavors. And that's with Leo, that don't entail, buying nice clothes, just talking about yourself. All of that is self-love. So my whole point of all of this is that you can go through and you're going to look at obviously your Venus. You're going to look at your moon because that's your emotional base and, your peace of mind, all of that. You want to look at, your chart ruler. And then lastly, once again, for my 12th house people, it's an elevated position, and there's a certain level of humility that comes with that. So you always, like I said, with the 12th house in particular, the writing will be on the wall, and also with certain Neptune aspects, the writing will be on the wall about the illusion. You'll at some point you become conscious, like, okay, this is the reality. Think of that with Neptune in 12th house. It needs the reality. Neptune needs boundaries. So you need to know, like, your rose-colored glasses, quote unquote, need to be adjusted. Like, that's what it actually needs. So when you see that, you can't, like, to not accept that is to choose ignorance in that real regard, which that's why it's self-undoing. So that's the best I could say, It's a lot with this. I want you guys to let me know what you think. I frame more topics around this because, we're all going through similar things, particularly being on this journey. And remember, this journey is a self-absorbed one. It is one where, like I said, isolation and sacrifice and humility are things that are essential in growth and accepting to grow and evolve. All right. So, y'all, it's today's episode. Feel free to comment. Let me know what you think. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you can do so now. If you need a reading, click the link in the description, send me an email, and we'll set something up. Until next time, peace.